Hi, Candi Jo. Okay, a few things. This image is flaring out. If you look at the histogram, well, that's not going to really help. Um, this part here is like, you're losing the border here. Um, one principle about white on white, here the white on white idea is going on. When you're photographing white on white and you have a wash background, your background should not be more than a stop lighter than your object. So that's why you're getting flaring here, where you're losing the definition of your glass. That's the first thing. The second thing is your pour isn't the hero. You got to put that in the center. Here is what the assignment was asking you to do, something like this, see? Where your pour is the main thing. Then you have some supporting cast kind of framing it. This kind of shadow here on the background, not good. Basically not good. And in this case also, let's see if I can mimic this for you. The exposure's much too much. See, well, I can't mimic it. But basically, this has to have less light, and this has to remain the same. So I don't have the time right now to point that out to you. So, and your bubbles aren't visible either, because your light source from the back is just much too broad. You see, Candi Jo, when you have a large light source, then you have a very diffuse light. In a case like this, to get the dark lines, you need a small light source. When you have a small light source, then you have a specular light, a concentrated light, and you can, it creates more definition within the glass. You know, the sun, for all intents and purposes, is a specular light source. When the sky is blue and the sun is out, light is very strong. You get harsh shadows. That's why it's not good to photograph anybody in harsh sun. And if you do, you use white cards for fill to bounce light into the shadows. But when you have a cloudy, bright day, when there are a lot of clouds in the sky, the clouds act as a diffusion material, and the light's very diffuse and soft. That's the same idea that you have here. So moving on, here's your lighting setup. Now this isn't the correct lighting setup. The lectures say to set up translucent glass and to shoot through the back, and also to use, I don't recall, I have to look again. I don't know if the lectures specify to use a very concentrated light in back, but that's what you have to do. And I'm going to give you a link to another video where the photographer uses a very concentrated tungsten light. Do not use tungsten light. Take away the principle, not the equipment that he uses. He uses like 1,000th of a second to really freeze the pour and to get really close on it. And he shoots through a translucent back, like you have here. It's getting away from me. He shoots through it from the back and backlights the pour. So also I have to ask, why did you find it necessary to shoot at 3200 ISO? That compromises your quality. And also your metadata shows that you used a fluorescent light source. Now I'm going to have to give you the benefit of the doubt, given your history as a good student, that you put your camera at a fluorescent light setting, and that's why it's showing that. That's what I'll assume. But what I'm guessing you tried to do is to be able to shoot at f/22, so you raise your ISO. But you didn't have to do that in this case. You could shoot at f5.6, which would be at ISO 100, and shoot at low power of your strobe, like a quarter power or an eighth, so that your flash duration is short, like 1/500th of a second or 1/450th. That's your effective shutter speed. Your camera shutter speed can be 1/200th, 1/250th. Like I told you in the last video, don't use like 1/3 of a second. You're letting in too much ambient light. For strobes, it doesn't matter what shutter speed you use. Well, it kind of does. You don't want to let in ambient light. So you want to use the fastest shutter speed possible at which your camera synchronizes with your strobe. Most cameras synchronize up to 1/250th of a second. Check your camera manual. Just to be safe, do it at 1/200th of a second. But you don't want all this ambient light that you were letting in, I remember, last assignment. Now, let me show you this. Here's Dee's assignment. She's not there yet totally either. But this is kind of what you're going for, and I kind of cropped it down. Can I still bring back what she did? Here's what she handed in, see? Also, the shadows in the background aren't good. So the pour is off to the side. We want this. Something closer to this. I'm showing you D because you have a, well, you have a kind of a good correspondence with her. Now, moving on to this, this is the professional version of what we're looking for. See this? This is beautiful. Now, you know, you're not there yet. I don't expect this from you. But this is what we're going for. See? Everything's backlit. And he used a shooting table. This is plexi. And he shot from the back. And he took care of the shadows by using a reflection. Now, here's the classic setup, which is the same principle that the lectures tell you to use. For all intents and purposes, this is your light source. Instead of shooting through the back, it's easier to set up the classic black line setup and just do a pour. So you have your black foam core or a black seamless. You tack white paper onto it, but it can't be much bigger than the glass. It can't be smaller, but it has to be a little bit bigger, same size or a little bit bigger, so that it's a small light source. And you have to direct a controlled light onto this sheet, and it bounces back through the glass as you do a pour. Over here, you have black mats, like black artboard, black mats. What it does, it prevents ambient reflections from hitting the glass. It shields you at the camera angle so that you don't show up in the glass, or anything else for that matter, any of these family of angles from the room that you're shooting in. It shields it. And it also prevents flare. See, you have flare all over the place. I'm going to just go back for a second. It prevents all this flare. Here's your original shot. You've got flare all over the place. Light is bouncing all over the place. So what you want is to prevent that from happening. So you set up black mats on the side, like flags. Candi Jo, I'm going to stop here. So I hope this helps you. And, all right, any questions, give a shout. And I'll talk to you next assignment. All right, take care.